Basically, ever since Luke Hughes was drafted 4th overall by the New Jersey Devils in 2021, there have been people throwing out the idea that one day Quinn Hughes is going to leave Vancouver and go team up with his brothers in New Jersey, but for the longest time that really just felt like a pipe dream. Quinn Hughes is one of the best defensemen in the NHL. He's the Canucks captain. He's a Norris Trophy winner. At just 26 years old, he is already arguably the greatest defenseman in Vancouver Canucks franchise history. So I don't think there was too many people out there that really truly believed the Canucks would let this guy slip through their fingers and actually leave Vancouver. But now that idea doesn't seem all that far-fetched, and it's really starting to feel like Quinn Hughes' time in Vancouver may be coming to an end, as over the last week or so, and especially just over the last couple of days, there has been a lot of chatter surrounding Quinn Hughes and the idea of the Vancouver Canucks trading him. And the reason that these talks have become so prominent lately is obviously stemming from the fact that Quinn Hughes' contract is up at the end of next season, and the Vancouver Canucks as an organization are just not in a good spot right now. Just 10 wins through their first 27 games of the season. They're 7th place in the Pacific and 30th place overall in the entire league. Obviously, they have been dealing with injuries to key players all season long. Thatcher Demko has only started 10 games. Nils Höglander hasn't played a single game yet this season, and Philip Hedl has only played in 6. But still, even if the team was fully healthy, it's kind of hard to imagine the results would be much different from what they are now. This team has been downright bad. They're 29th in the entire league in expected goals for per 60 minutes at 5-on-5, and they allow the 3rd most expected goals against per 60 minutes at 5-on-5. The penalty kill has been bad. The shot differential isn't good. Just not a whole lot has gone right for the Canucks this season. And they also have one of the weaker prospect pools in the entire NHL. Listen, I think Willander and Lekermacki are going to be solid players for this team one day, but you don't really get the feeling that help is on the way. It's just really difficult to imagine a realistic path to contention for the Vancouver Canucks in the next 3 to 4 years with this core. And I'm sure Quinn Hughes and his agent are both well aware of that. To me, all of this is starting to feel eerily similar to the JT Miller situation. Not suggesting that there is any locker room drama involving Hughes, but we're already starting to see a lot of people say that Quinn Hughes appears to be checked out of Vancouver and have one foot out the door, as his body language hasn't been great and he has displayed some very questionable efforts recently. I want to show you guys this one clip from the Canucks 3-1 loss to the Avalanche on Tuesday that has been going around. Keep your eye on Quinn Hughes here. He's looking to jump up in the rush, but the puck gets turned over in the neutral zone, and then he shows little to no effort to get back in the play. If he was really on his horse here, he easily could have taken away Ross Colton as a pass option. Thankfully for the Canucks, Aatu Ratti made a nice diving play to break it up. But then even after the pass attempt is broken up and the puck's still kind of up for grabs in front of Kevin Lankinen, just look at what Quinn Hughes does. He just curls off into the corner and starts going up the ice. I was going through some of the responses to that clip, and I wanted to share this one with you guys from a Canucks fan. Let's also remember this guy played 20 minutes by the end of the second period and 30 minutes in total. He's playing Stanley Cup Finals type minutes in December for a team in 30th place, and he has been doing so for weeks. We don't deserve him. Which is true. His workload this season has been insane. He's averaging nearly 27.5 minutes of ice time per game, which leads the league by a wide margin. The last time we've seen somebody average over 27 minutes of ice time per game for a full season was back in the 2016-17 season when both Dustin Byfuglien and Drew Doughty did it, so it's been nearly a decade. That being said though, he is still the Canucks captain, and when you see your captain make that kind of effort on a play, that stuff can be contagious. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Mike Bartner. If you're not, be sure to go check out his channel. He makes great hockey content. I think he said it best here when reacting to that clip on X. He said, Vancouver management has failed him, no doubt, but my God, he is their captain and this is piss poor. If we are going to dog on JT Miller for similar stuff, then we also can't excuse this by Quinn and make him this next level victim. There's no doubt stuff like this only adds to the trade speculation, which is a big reason why I think it has become so prevalent over the last couple of days. And it's not like it's just NHL fans that have been talking about the idea of a Quinn Hughes trade either. It has been a huge topic of discussion when it comes to some of the most reputable insiders as well, like Elliot Friedman. And obviously the Devils are going to be the most talked about team when it comes to a potential Quinn Hughes trade. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, really ever since Luke Hughes was selected 4th overall by New Jersey, people have thrown out the idea of Quinn Hughes one day going to New Jersey to team up with them, and they have the kind of assets as to where they can put together a really strong offer for Quinn Hughes. They have all of their first round picks, and they have young players like Dawson Mercer, Seamus Casey, and Simon Nemec that you have to imagine the Canucks would have some interest in. Aside from the Devils, though, there are 2 other teams that have been brought up a lot over the last couple of days who could emerge as potential suitors for Quinn Hughes if he is made available for trade, and those 2 teams are the Flyers and the Red Wings. We'll start with the Flyers. I want to read you a little bit from this article that was published to dailyfaceoff.com yesterday by Anthony DeMarco titled, "The Flyers like Quinn Hughes. Are they willing to pay up to get him?" If you want to read the entire article for yourself, I will link it down below in the description. With the Vancouver Canucks season spiraling out of control, it has only increased the speculation surrounding captain and all-star defenseman Quinn Hughes and his future. Hughes, 26, has found his name at the heart of trade discussions going back to last season. Canucks president of hockey operations Jim Rutherford even alluded to Hughes wanting to potentially play alongside his brothers with the New Jersey Devils. The Devils have certainly been the sexy destination for Hughes for obvious reasons, but the Philadelphia Flyers have also recently surfaced as a potential destination for the 2018 7th overall pick. Having a well-documented good relationship with Flyers head coach Rick Tocchet from Tocchet's time in Vancouver, Hughes could have Philadelphia on his bingo card. If he truly wants to play on the Eastern Seaboard, there will only be a handful of teams capable of fitting him under the salary cap and paying the necessary price to pry him out of Western Canada. The Flyers have the most talent both on and in the system on the wing that they can use as trade currency. I have speculated recently on what players could be a part of a package for a player like Hughes, specifically Tyson Foerster and 2025 6th overall pick Porter Martone. Speaking with the team source, Martone and Matvei Michkov additionally is viewed as untouchable and would not be on the table for Hughes. On the flip side, given the competition would be extremely fierce to land a future Hall of Famer like Hughes, would any offer without a talent like Martone even interest the Canucks? Foerster is someone the team would be reluctant to trade, but I've heard that the Flyers would consider it as part of a deal for Hughes. Foerster, 23, is viewed as a core piece for the Flyers. He's in the midst of a breakout season with 10 goals in 23 games as of Tuesday. Signed at $3.75 million AAV until 2027, Foerster is at a good dollar value and is poised to be a major bargain for the next 18 months should he continue this level of point production. Foerster has become one of the most relied on forwards for the Flyers, playing in all situations, averaging the 4th most time on ice per game among team forwards, and being an analytical darling. So that's all I'm going to read for the article. Like I said, if you want to read the entire thing, link will be down below in the description. But when I read something like that, I truly find it hard to believe that the Flyers would have a legitimate shot to land somebody like Quinn Hughes in a trade. I get not wanting to part with Michkov. He should be untouchable. They should not even consider trading him. He's going to be the face of that franchise. But if someone like Porter Martone is also untouchable in a Quinn Hughes trade, then I really just don't know how the Flyers would be able to pull it off. Like, would a package centered around Tyson Foerster be enough for the Vancouver Canucks to even consider it? As much as I like Tyson Foerster, he's a great young two-way forward, I'm going to say no. Which brings me to the other team that has been talked about a lot recently as a potential fit for Quinn Hughes, the Detroit Red Wings, who I definitely think could beat out the Philadelphia Flyers in terms of offering Vancouver a more enticing package for Quinn Hughes. And apparently Elliot Friedman feels the same way. I want to show you guys this short clip of what he had to say in regards to Detroit being a potential suitor for Quinn Hughes on the Morning Cup of Hockey podcast the other day.
Unless, like I said, unless a Philly or a Detroit decides they wanted to trade a Raymond or a Mishkov in this deal, I don't see that being the case. But I do see legitimate NHLers going in return for that. And, the one thing that Detroit has that Philly doesn't is they have a center. And I do think when I rank the teams and I say who can do this and where would Hughes want to go, I would say Detroit's very high on my list. And the big challenge with Detroit, and don't forget, Jim Rutherford and Steve Yzerman did a deal out of nowhere a couple years ago, and that was Philip Roenick. And so I always look at that. Who's done deals together in the past? Who's done deals together quietly in the past? Like Yzerman's a vault, nothing gets out of him. But can you see him not being interested in Quinn Hughes? Can you see Quinn Hughes not being interested in Detroit when the time comes? So I think they're very legit, and Detroit has centers and centers who can play in the NHL. And I'm not talking about the depth guys. I'm talking about, probably. I think everybody can figure out who I'm talking about, although I don't like to name names.
Mm.
So, like a guy who would make sense in that deal. And so I think Detroit is a team to watch. And, one thing that they've made very clear, Vancouver, is they have to get another center.
Now, since that interview has come out, Elliot Friedman has clarified that the center he was talking about is not Dylan Larkin, which I feel like is obvious, but there were some people thinking that is who he was talking about. Trading Larkin for Hughes would make absolutely no sense for the Red Wings or the Canucks. It would leave Detroit extremely weak down the middle, and if you're the Canucks, if you trade Quinn Hughes, it likely means you are committing to a rebuild or a retool and you want to go in a younger direction, so it wouldn't make sense to trade Quinn Hughes for a player that is literally a few years older than him. I would imagine the center Friedman is talking about is Nate Danielson or maybe Marco Kasper, whichever one of the two that Vancouver likes more, but I would definitely lean Danielson. He's a right shot center from Western Canada. He was the Red Wings' 9th overall selection from 2023, and leading up to that draft, it was reported that the Canucks had a lot of interest in Danielson. They had the 11th pick. Of course, Danielson went a couple of picks before that. Obviously, Nate Danielson by himself would not be near enough to get a deal done. I imagine somebody like Axel Sandin Pellikka would also have to be involved, as well as draft picks. But even then, is that going to be enough? I mean, it's Quinn Hughes we're talking about here. The return for Vancouver, if they trade him, is going to be massive. I've seen a lot of Red Wings fans say that Axel Sandin Pellikka should be an untouchable and they wouldn't trade him for Quinn Hughes. To those people, I say you are absolutely out of your mind. I think Sandin Pellikka is going to be a phenomenal player one day. I think Nate Danielson is going to be a very good player one day as well. But I would go as far as saying I guarantee that neither of them are ever going to be the kind of impact player that Quinn Hughes is. So if a package of Nate Danielson, Axel Sandin Pellikka, and say a first-round draft pick is what the Red Wings would have to give up to land Quinn Hughes, then I would drive those two guys to the airport myself. Players like Quinn Hughes rarely ever become available for trade, and he is exactly the kind of game breaker that could put this Red Wings team over the hump and get them back into the playoffs. Having a top four with Simon Edvinsson, Moritz Seider, and Quinn Hughes in it sounds insane. I'm trying not to get my hopes up too much because ultimately, if he does get moved, I still think the most likely scenario is he ends up in New Jersey, but I'd be lying if I said all of this talk and speculation that has taken place over the last couple of days hasn't gotten me a bit excited as a Red Wings fan. I'll finish up this video by saying this: I do feel like all of this Quinn Hughes trade talk may be a little bit premature because I just can't see him being traded mid-season like this, and the biggest reason for that is because he's not going to be eligible for a contract extension until this coming off season. So let's say a team trades for Quinn Hughes over the next month or so and it doesn't go well, the fit isn't great, maybe that team doesn't end up making the playoffs, and then Quinn Hughes doesn't want to sign an extension with that team. That would be disastrous. So I think it's kind of unlikely a team would be willing to give up the kind of premium assets it would take to make a trade for Quinn Hughes without an extension being part of the deal, which again, he's not eligible for an extension until this summer. So if a Quinn Hughes trade does happen, I think it's more likely we see it happen this coming off season as opposed to leading up to the trade deadline. Still a fun conversation to have though. Like I said, it's not often players like Quinn Hughes find themselves in the trade rumor mill. As always, I want to know what you guys are thinking, especially if you're a Canucks fan. This is a safe space. Sound off down below in the comments. Let me know how you're feeling about this whole situation. If you made it all this way to the end of the video and you ended up enjoying yourself, please remember to leave a like. It's the best way to let me know that you enjoyed, and it does help out the videos a ton. And most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this all season long, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you all again soon.